Run steep, get high. Run flat, stay low. Run the mountain, run the road. Run past the 8-stand to the commode. Oh, run steep, get high. Run flat, stay low. One stream, two guys. Mountain Outpost. Now here's your host.
Hey, welcome back to the show. We're sneaking in a quick episode here before I head up to Colorado. How are you doing today, Skylar? Good to see you, bud.
Good to see you as well, sir. Yeah, I'm good. I am baking in the sun back in California. Been a wild last week of travel and just general shenanigans. And then because we're doing this in the middle of the day, we got that work from home situation. So this was the best location for me to work on my tan in the backyard while making sure we give the people what they want. So we're here. We're making it happen. Super excited. But, sir, how are you doing, Mr. Oh, no, I'm in Hardrock with, 10 days notice or whatever it was? Dude, how you holding up?
Yeah, last time we chatted, was I in yet, or did I just get in? Okay, I wasn't in yet. I was like one on the wait list probably.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind. So I think I got in, and I'm now like on a 9-day run streak all of a sudden. So, been no excuses now. Got to get those runs in every day. I was on the treadmill yesterday getting my 8 miles in, and we'll try and keep that up as much as we can, as much as coach will allow me to run up until race day. I've got one more long run to do coming up this weekend, and then it's going to be taper time, I guess. So it was funny. I was looking at my training last year leading into the race, and surprisingly somehow, I think like the 8 weeks leading up to the race, I'll actually have more miles this year and a little bit of a better training block. So I think, but last year I did run Cocodona. So I had that to 257 miles, whatever, in early May. And then I just kind of shut it down till Hardrock and basically just went in, ran it on a whim. So I don't know. Maybe that has me cautiously optimistic. Just hoping not to get sick this year.
Yeah, I think that's a fair consideration. Don't get sick. I think that's kind of always the goal. It was funny. I was just listening to Coop's podcast around training camps and like setting them up for ultras. And it's like you were doing pretty much everything exactly the opposite of like how they would traditionally do it. They're like, all right, 2 weeks is like at a minimum when you do a training camp for a big race, and you're just like, nah, I'm gonna start training 2 weeks out, and you can't taper. What are you deloading? Like, it's not a taper, man.
It's not really a taper. It's just, I guess it's a matter of like, I probably shouldn't run like 30 miles in like the first 4 days of the next week, and do like 130 mile week. So it'll probably, once I get that long run in, it'll be probably like 2 to 4 miles a day next week. I think I have three on Sunday.
It's silly that literally your first day, like at altitude, you're going to go do a long run. It's just like, hey, just completely thrown into the deep end. Your body will figure out how we're going to survive this one way or another. So, man, you were ridiculous.
I'm going to the plan is to probably do Kendall Mountain Run, basically do the run course, get up to 13,000 feet at least once before race day. On foot at least, and then that's going to be about it. Francois, he dropped in. I was just looking at his training. He dropped into Colorado, I think, the 28th or 29th of June. He was up in Silverton area, I think, by the 1st of July, and he's basically been doing, 15 to 30 mile runs every day since he's gotten there, knocking off huge chunks of the Hardrock course. So. But he's also probably been training consistently, so.
Exactly. Yeah, that was going to be my first pushback on that, was he's been consistently training for months at this point. But he also has not done the course this direction, correct? Like, this is his first time going clockwise?
Yeah, last year last
Yeah.
year was his first Hard Rock. He got in the year before one of the canceled years, so he came out and he was just doing training runs and stuff out there. So
Yeah, so I mean, part of it's just him wanting to know the course as defending champ and what is in what I got to say probably one of the most competitive years, at least on the men's side
oh
ever,
goodness.
potentially the most competitive ever. So,
Oh, I would say so.
y-
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, Killian versus Francois at Hard Rock.
it's gonna be lit.
I was chatting with Matt the other day, and it's like the only way I think that could be better is if Jim was lining up this year. Kind of a shame, like because I don't know that he's ever applied for Hard Rock. I'm not sure.
Actually, I do not know. I think it was always one of those FKT only situations during sort of peak 2020. But yeah, I don't know
Right.
if he's actually ever
Well, yeah,
applied.
he made that FKT attempt on it and was like way up on the record pace, and he did run it in this direction. I think for a while people were thinking this was the faster direction, but I think the stats prove otherwise up until this point. But I don't know. I could easily see both the men's and women's records falling this year. I think Killian versus Francois, you're going to see they actually have people to push them. I mean, Debo was pushing Francois last year, but I was just rewatching that Long Shorts Solomon film, and he had a lot of low points actually, like Francois did. He wasn't quite sure if he should be that far ahead of Killian's record, but with Debo on his heels, he was just kind of going with it. And then, of course, on the women's side, having Courtney drop out just past Ure, she's going to be hungry for that finish, hungry to do well. And I would say I would almost guarantee a women's course record. We got Sabrina Stanley coming back, who was only 3 minutes off the course record last year. Super competitive. And then, I think it's the largest women's field we've ever seen at Hard Rock as well, which is great to see.
Yeah, I think you're going to see sort of what we saw at Western States, I imagine, which is you can't just time trial this sort of situation. Like, oh, I want to run this split for this section. I think it's going to be too packed up, and you're going to have to actually play to the competition around you, listening to like the gaps between, you and the next person behind you, next person in front of you, and being smart. So, dude, it's going to be wild. And this is the bummer. We're not going to be able to have a live stream of this one because I can only imagine how stupid people are going to get with spot trackers and being like, oh, they made the pass. It's like, no, one spot tracker pinged 2 minutes ago and the other one pinged half an hour ago. So like,
right.
We have to account for that. It's just Twitter's going to be a dumpster fire, but it's going to be great to get texts and tweets and everything, keeping us up to speed on this race. So if you can make it to Silverton, I would highly recommend you just fly into Albuquerque or Durango or Denver, wherever you got to get to, and make the drive, because this is going to be one for the record books for sure.
Well, we should expect, the iRun Far updates will be the lifeline on this one. Obviously, you have the satellite trackers, but at least they're out there. I think they'll be out there anyways. I think Megan Hicks is running this year, but Brian, I think he would have gotten in, but I think they both can't run in the same year because they got to cover it. So the other big Hard Rock news, which just dropped, actually, I think I have a video coming up about this. They switched up the lottery. I don't know if you saw that for next year's race.
I did not. Do tell, sir.
Oh, yeah. Pretty big change. They basically are eliminating the veteran category. So they're just going to have, right now they have 3 separate lotteries, and actually it's 6 because they now do a gender split to guarantee the same number of women that qualify and apply actually get chosen. And so they're going to just go to 2 lotteries. There's people who have never finished Hard Rock, and then people who have finished Hard Rock. So it simplifies it. The veteran status is essentially gone. It's the 5 or more finishes. So we'll see how that plays out. They haven't released the number of spots that go into each bucket yet for next year. But yeah, they kind of low-key dropped it. It was like, I think it was like 8 or 9 p.m. like 2 days ago. It just like made a post on Instagram, and I was like, okay. they must have had a board meeting or something and just kind of simply they just slipped it in there real quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a race that's not necessarily known for its PR apparatus, so that's not terribly surprising. But I mean, the change to the lottery is it's going to be. I assume it's trying to be more equitable. You end up with a lot of folks who, sort of like the elder statesman, the old boys club type of complaints. This waters that down a little bit. Obviously, if you finish before, then you sort of get grandfathered into this special class of folks. But that's completely. I think the potential blowback or people are going to be but about the situation is going to be completely dependent on the number of slots that go in each of the pools. But in terms of being able to really allow for folks to participate who've earned this opportunity, especially going the way of a lot of these larger races, your Western States, your UTMB is becoming with easier paths to get into. It makes sense that Hardrock is also following suit. So good on them for doing that. We'll definitely have to look at the specifics as they continue to roll out. But I imagine there's going to be a lot of bar talk in Silverton in the next week or two about what that means for folks. And there's one person who was like going to finish their 5th one this year who's now just like, oh, what the hell? So sorry, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel a little bit like that, but it's like I did get in again. So I have no reason to complain. I think right now there's 65 slots, I believe, for never started Hardrock out of the 145. If I had to bet, I would say they'll probably look to equalize that more, maybe make it more of a 50-50 split. I think you still would maintain, there's going to be the people that come back every year. But right now, as it stands, I think there's currently just one veteran on the wait list still. Everyone else has been cleared through and added to the race. And there's only a handful of people that have finished Hardrock that haven't gotten in off the wait list. Most of that has cleared. So I think what you're seeing is, basically if you've run Hardrock before, you're almost guaranteed to get in. The veterans are basically guaranteed in every year. And I think increasing the number of slots for people that have never had a shot, I think is always a good thing. I do think there is something to be said for having those people that come back every year and kind of the heart and soul of the race. But, me running Hardrock a 6th time probably doesn't have as much value as someone getting to run it for the first time. So I definitely can agree with that. So we'll see. We'll see once they announce kind of what their intentions are. If they increase, maybe it flips and it's 80 spots go to new people, and then we'll have 65 slots for those who have finished Hardrock. Something like that would probably go a long ways to getting some fresh blood into the race. And that's it. That's that. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the chat here.
I'm sure somebody somewhere, it might be, on the website. Obviously, you just dropped this on me, so I didn't know pre-research. But, it'd be interesting to see the number of folks applying for first-time lottery versus, the number actually getting in. If it's a, 5% chance or whatever, it would make sense for them. It would behoove them to sort of skew it so more first-timers are in. And then, I don't know, you change the... if you were top 5 last year, you auto get back in instead of, because it's only the returning champion gets an auto in, right? So
yeah, it's that, and then there's apparently 5 race director picks each year,
correct,
which could be anything. It could be, and that's why I think if Jim Walmsley applied, I would imagine he would get selected. That's what you end up seeing is a lot of those picks are used, I think, for elite runners. Courtney got right back in. Maybe that was a pick. I don't know. But what it does tend to do is that's why you're seeing more and more competitiveness in the races, is because more and more competitive folks, they get in, they get their foot in the door, and then they're getting selected each time. So we got a couple questions in the chat here. Deb Runs Far says, is weather, potential storms a big factor at Hardrock? Absolutely. We get some fierce storms up there.
Always.
That's why they say it's a postgraduate run. You can't just sign up, put your name in the hat. You got to run a Mountain 100 or Mountain 200 to get in. And going along the lines of that, Jared Gell says, are they going to expand the qualifying race list? I don't know if they're going to. It's not a super long list, but there are certainly plenty of races to choose from. Um, and not all the races are sellouts. Like Mogollon Monster in Arizona in September. September is basically the month of Hardrock qualifying. There are like, I think 8 or 10 of the races are all in September. So you got your pick. There's like Wasatch and Bear and Mogollon and some others. So, you know, let's also encourage the women. Like the more women that qualify and apply, the larger the women's field will be. So ladies, it's kind of in your hands to, you know, get those Hardrock qualifiers in. Even if you don't plan on running it right away, you know, throw your name in the hat because it can help the cause of increasing the number of slots available to women. Is Cocodona going to be a qualifier for Hardrock? So great question. And I did ask the board and they basically said no. I think they said they want to see it happen for like 2 or 3 years and they're looking for a certain number of finishers. But then they also said that for some reason they said that it doesn't behoove itself to the type of terrain that Hardrock is. I don't know. Like, I think if you can finish Cocodona, it's a different type of hard. Cocodona is more of a heat race, but it's a low support race, and it's definitely, I think, would put you in a postgraduate playing field for sure. I don't know that it should be valued any less than I think, because Tahoe and I think Bigfoot are both on the list. And I think Cocodona, just with the length and the experience that it is, I think it should be a Hardrock qualifier. But, you know, I'm not on the board. I'm biased. But at this point, it doesn't look like it's going to be. That might change in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably just, you know, there's only been 2 editions of it. So,
yeah,
you know.
They also have a ton of qualifiers. So I don't know if they're really looking to expand. They already have more than enough people applying. It's not like they're like, oh, let's increase more races so we can have even more people apply. So
yeah, and you know, they're not beholden to any sponsors or anyone that's like, hey, we also sponsor this other qualifying race, so or potential qualifying race, so you Hardrock should make that happen because hint hint wink wink. So yeah, I mean, they're going to be pretty flexible about how they play it. So
bring it back. Tell us about. Do you want to tell any stories from Hardrock of years past? You got anything good for me? Chasing Killian down,
dude. All right. Here's the thing. First year, what was that? 2015?
I think that's about right. Yeah.
2015 that I just like on a whim, with Ben was like, yo, I'll go with you to help film this thing. Run Steep didn't even really exist in its current form. I don't even know what we were filming for.
Well, but I filmed, I think, some stuff at the 2014 Hardrock, and that's how our like YouTube channel kind of started. It was just going on some training runs and filming the race that year, and so we wanted to do the same in 2015.
So literally, I rocked up there. For a race that is a postgraduate mountain race, you took a dude who knew nothing about ultra running and just said, like, go run up this course. So, like, full disclosure, I had no idea who Killian was going into this. I was just like, oh, this dude's moving fast. That's cool. But, like, I had to go do research after the fact to be like, oh, no, this dude is, like, the GOAT. So yes, that's how blind I went into this entire situation, like the race specifically, the community as a whole, whatever. So we're up so we were going the counterclockwise direction. So we were going backwards from like up the hill or up the mountain that goes down into Ouray. And like it starts raining, it starts hailing. I don't know what the hell's happening. Like
you're on the Bear Creek Trail, which is like the sketchiest section with like
correct. I'm looking down,
500-foot drop off.
Super dead if I fall off. So we're hiding like under rock faces and whatnot. Again, there's no signal, signal, so we can't even like figure out tweets or like, hey, when was the last time somebody went through this aid station? So we're just like surviving, and then all of a sudden we see Killian coming. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna like do this follow shot with, you know, non-gimbal GoPros because it's 2015 and these things didn't exist yet in any like, you know, economic efficient way. So I just follow Killian for like a mile downhill at altitude, coming from like some track workouts in Phoenix, and that's it. It was nuts just how fast he was moving. I was like, this is it. This is how I actually die, because this is a sketchy as hell trail, and this dude is wearing trail shoes, and I was wearing, I don't know, some like Brooks running, like road running shoes or something stupid. So yeah, dude, it was nuts. Just like watching him just be so smooth like butter. I was like, who was this guy? And then having to suffer through the weather elements to make that happen. So that was nuts. Was that the year that we like slept in the trunk of the car waiting for you at Telluride because you were like super behind schedule?
That sounds right.
And then, yeah, dude, it was just, that was a whole, I'd never had a conversation with you at this point. Like we had never actually talked.
That's funny.
The first time I think we had like a one-on-one conversation is when I had to go backwards on the course, like across the river.
Right.
Because you were like 7 hours behind schedule. And we're like, is this dude dead? Like what's happening? Again, no reports.
Yeah, because you crossed the river with me.
I forded the river.
Yep.
Yes.
Both ways. Nice.
In the OG like pink trucker run steep get high hat. Yeah, dude, that was nuts. So yeah, I went from like raining and hail the day before to blistering heat going up this hill to find you, only to have to like come back down through the river. And that was like, you finish on your own, because this is absurd. I've only run like 20 miles in 2 days. I don't even know how you guys are doing this like 100-mile event. What the hell is 100-miler? What the hell is altitude? All of it was nuts. Dude, yeah, that was a good time. That was the first one. I feel like every other one has been pretty standard for Hardrock like expectations. The year that I tried to pace you from Ouray to Telluride and you dropped me, that was fun. Having to go through the snow up there on the top.
Virginia's.
Yeah, dude. I was like, what are we doing here? And you're just like, all right, this is the line. I'm like, how are you seeing this? It's nighttime. And it's just all white. And
they had the rope out, right? Were we climbing up the rope?
Yeah, we had to do that. Yeah, dude, that was nuts. Yeah, it was a good time. I love being there. Like the whole like aid station party at Ouray is always fun. Telluride is always like been a bit more low key because it's like later in the race, so things are a bit more spread out. But then yeah, like it's just chilling with the community. And Silverton is always just a spectacle. You have obviously there, everybody's with the rock at the start line, everybody's like sending everyone off. But then just like being in town, at like one of the two coffee shops, one of the, like one of the saloon or the bar, like all the different areas where people are just like hanging out together. It's just, it's a good time to be in the running community in a way that's like not as hyped up as like, oh, everybody's at like Western States training camp or everybody's at Forest Hill. Like it's much more down tempo in terms of the community experience. So yeah, it's a good time.
Well, it's like a more captive situation just because it is such a isolated area. Mm-hmm. It's like you kind of have to just be there in such a small town that it's like a walkable city. So everyone is just staying in town or camping, and you just end up kind of running into everyone at the coffee shop and at the bars and everything. So
you have to. Yeah. I mean, because you have no cell signal once you're like 3 miles out of town. And you're just like, well, we have to come down for supplies. So it's fun.
We got a question for you in the chat from Matthew Feldhake. Can we get Skylar's prediction for the Curry versus Curry showdown?
Well, I know you guys aren't going to hold hands across the finish line because we know your feelings on that are deep and well and just well announced. I would love for it to come down to a kick down that like long road right before like that last right hander to the rock. That would be pretty entertaining. For the no video footage we'll get of it live. But I mean, I think your brother probably has a bit more base fitness or like fitness coming into this, even though he's coming off of the injury. I think ultimately, it's a funk. I think he's played it smart in terms of coming back from the Achilles injury. He's put in some decent runs. So I think we're in a good spot there. But then again, like you are fresher and you have no injuries coming into this. So just like biomechanically, as long as you don't do anything dumb, you might just have an advantage for the likelihood of your body holding up. So it's like aerobic base fitness versus like physical capabilities. And I think if Nick comes in and his body holds up, he should beat you on paper. Also, I don't think you're tripping that hard on your time. Uh,
Oh God, no.
but yeah, right.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I mean, for me, it's like I want to have an enjoyable time and an enjoyable experience running this loop, and I want to get around the loop. And if I can have like as few blow ups or low points as possible, that would be great. I don't care about the time. I mean, I would love to be done sooner rather than later, of course. But I think for Nick, like unless I think he's either it's like he'll drop out or he'll beat me. I don't think there's an in between. I think if we both finish, he'll be ahead of me.
yeah.
Like if
Yeah, I
he's
think
feeling
that's
good enough
valid.
if he's feeling good enough to get it done, then I mean his fitness over the last couple years and even this year is way higher than mine. He's also been living at altitude for a while, so he's got that going for him. He's done more vert lately, so. But yeah, I am pretty fresh coming in uninjured. We'll just see how my body handles. It's still 100 miles on my body. It's a lot of climbing on my body, which I haven't done lately.
Yep.
I think the altitude will be a factor for me as well. So
Yeah. I'd be interested from a power hiking perspective. Like that's going to be a lot of repeated torque on that Achilles for him. I mean, it's obviously not as high of like pressure into the ground in terms of like force transference. So that might be to his benefit. But the fact that you're not striking underneath your center of mass as much when you're doing that much power hiking will be interesting. So I'm assuming he's taken that into account and sort of been working through that. But yeah, obviously wishing him all the best. One, to get through it in one piece, and then two, to absolutely crush your soul, because it'll be a lot more fun to make fun of you on this podcast than it would be to, I don't know, celebrate you. There's no joy in that.
you want me to be crushed? Okay, I see.
I want you to finish, and I want you to survive and have fun, but I also want to be able to talk smack because I'm not going to beat you in anything anytime soon. So I need somebody else to do it so I can like vicariously give you crap.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of folks beating me this year. We got a question from Ben Booth. New to trail running from the UK. Out of Western states and Hardrock, which one gives more satisfaction in completing? I mean, I would have to tend to say Hardrock just because it is so much of a harder race and you're going to be out there so much longer. The altitude, like you got to climb over, so many 13,000 foot passes over Handy's Peak at 14,000 feet. I mean, all the way up to the very end. Even the last climb is insane. I mean, the last climb of Hardrock up from Cunningham Gulch, I mean, it's longer, steeper than anything at Western States. And that's the final thing at mile 91 just to get to the finish line. So I would say Hardrock hands down.
Having never raced either, that climb out, it's basically like going up the escarpment after you've already run 90 miles, which is jacked up, but also not a fire road.
Yeah, on a steep single track. So, and up to 13,000 feet above sea level instead of just 9.
So that's just a mess. And then you have to descend from that back to 9,000. So you're dropping 4,000 feet in the last 6 miles of the race. Really, that happens in like what, a 2.5, 3 mile period?
Oh, you bombed down pretty quick. Yeah. And then you got a couple meandering miles.
Exactly.
Question from Reed Whitney here. Who's locked in for the beer mile?
I would hope Matt is locked in for an Athletic Brewing beer mile, just because he came off that Flagstaff mile race. So I hope that he's there to run around 9,000 feet with a carbonated drink and yak everywhere, because I need that video footage. Because again, I want to make fun of him too. But yeah, are you organizing like a Air Vipa team to get some folks involved? Like, what's happening? How are you? Because I know you're not going to run a beer mile after Hardrock. Hell, the way that you're going, you might not be done with Hardrock by the time the beer mile happens. So
the beer mile is usually before. It's like a couple days, or it's like the day. I think it's like the day before or something.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking of Wardian's. Like, I'm going to run the fast mile afterwards.
I mean, I did do that last year. I got roped in. I was just sitting out on the front porch, and Billy Yang drove by. He's like, "We're doing it." I was like, "Oh crap, I got to go." I might be up for it again. We'll see. It just all depends how I feel. I think last year, because I blew up so bad, I was like walking so much that I think I recovered quicker than maybe I would otherwise. So we'll just have to see. I hope
Wait,
I'm
sorry.
wrecked. Oh yeah.
Did you just say you blew up in a beer mile?
No, I blew up at Hardrock.
Oh, okay. I was like, how do you?
No,
I was like,
I didn't do the beer mile, and I won't do the beer mile. I'm talking about
okay,
the Wardian day after mile run.
got you. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I just wanted to make sure because I've never heard of somebody being like, my legs are gone in a beer mile. That's
No.
terrifying if that ever happens to you.
No. Well, anything else on Hard Rock that you want to chit chat about? I think that's most of it for me.
I mean, listen, I think it's well covered how ridiculous this race is going to be at the front end, but it's still going to be a story of like even further back, a bunch of names that we know. Obviously, you and Nick. There's folks who've been around the ultra running space for forever. It feels like you got what Coop is coming back. After his
Dakota
Cocodona
Jones
experience, Dakota, like it's going to be just nuts across the board. So super excited to follow it, and we'll do the deep dive. We'll try to recap for you how it played out since you'll be out on course. But I did look at flights to come for that Friday. Not gonna lie, I have a DJ gig on Saturday. I had to be back in the Bay for. It's not gonna work out. So I'll harass you. I will harass the crew.
I was just thinking about that because I
behalf.
don't think I'm rolling with a pacer this year, so it'll be the brother showdown pacerless. We'll see.
Well, in fairness, the last time I tried to pace you, it ended up being you and Nick anyway, and then like I came in and tell you right, like 4 minutes later, like they just dropped me on this descent. So I think it'll work out well for you guys. Just don't start the race until like 70 miles in. Just like work together and be smart and like take care of each other, and then send it off of handies. Or
I mean, he joined me for like 57 last year. Like it took us 24 hours. It was ridiculous, but hopefully we can work together and run together a good part of, like you said, maybe the first 70, at least over Handy's Peak, and then we'll just see what happens after that. So I think it'd be a good time. So let's see here. Did you see that Killian is hiring? Did you catch this?
I just saw that right before you texted me that we were doing this today.
Hilarious.
So I'm so stoked for it is a pretty genius idea.
It's
just
great.
like crowdsourcing. It's like everybody's used to like the Facebook groups, like, hey, Pacer Search, like my friend is doing X, help them. He just straight up made a full job posting, and
it's a novel idea. It's something I've never heard of before. I love it. I think giving kind of the community a chance to pace Killian at Hard Rock is so freaking cool.
Yeah, so we should give some context to folks who have no idea what the hell we're talking about. So basically, in a nutshell, Killian on his the normal, is that what we're calling it now? It's just normal?
It's normal, I'm pretty sure.
On his site, he's like, hey, we're hiring, like come join. And it's literally a post for getting hired as Killian's pacer at Hard Rock. So you fill out a form with your credentials, some top race performances. You link your Strava profile so they can see you're actually in shape. Basically, like your qualifications for being able to keep up with Killian, which, as I just alluded to earlier in this podcast, is not easy to do because the man is very fast, no matter how technical the terrain is. But yeah, it basically, if you can keep up with Killian, you can apply to be his pacer, and that's your chance to not only experience Hard Rock in person, but do it with somebody who is a former course record holder both ways, coming back to try to reclaim his throne from the current course record holder in the counterclockwise direction. So
is this what are we're clockwise this year, aren't we?
We're clockwise this year, yeah
clockwise.
So Francois definitely has the counterclockwise course record now, and Killian's like, I'm not going down for that. So you can be a part of the team, which will be hilarious because I'm just interested in like what type of pacer Killian likes. Like, is he like, hey, just keep me company and keep me on track? Is he like trying to get information? Is he like does he need somebody to like remind him when he should be eating? Like, it's just
Find
he's
the
been around the
trail.
game for so long. Yeah, like I'm just interested in like what sort of real needs and desires Killian has in a pacer. So
I'm
I haven't gone through the
curious
application
how
itself, but
many they're.
I'm sure.
I'm curious how many they're going to pick too. It seemed like they might pick multiple. Like you can start having a pacer in Uray this direction at like 40 something miles in. So you could have one Uray to Grouse, which is now Animas Forks. Then you can have technically Animas Forks to Sherman Aid Station, although that one's tough to get to. So they might just have that person. That'd be a long haul, like 30 miles with Killian all the way to mile 91, and then you'd have the last 9 miles where you could swap out again. So
That's nuts. Yeah,
we'll
I got to imagine that they'd figure out how to get a different pacer in there. And I think it would behoove them to do so based on how top heavy this race is overall. If you want somebody to like
yeah.
continue to
So
actually
yeah, they
push.
might drive up and over. So there could be up to 4 pacers that he could have through this whole. And yeah, you're right. It would probably be a smart move. I mean, that would be going up Handies with Killian down, and then all through like the Pole Creek, Maggie, all the way to Cunningham. Woof.
That's brutal.
Yeah, that's a big ask.
Yeah,
Well,
that's like an I've won speed goat type ask
yeah.
because of just like sheer distance, sheer vertical gain and loss, while having to navigate on Killian's behalf, most likely, given the fact that it's 70 plus miles into the race. Yeah, that's gonna be nuts.
Let's shift gears from Hardrock real quick. Any run flat news, things to watch out for? I know we didn't do a lot of prep this week, but what's coming up in the track and field world?
Yeah, I mean, Diamond League had the last of its pre-World Championships meets last week. Not a whole lot going on because national championships had just happened, so a lot of folks who qualified for World Championships were sort of keeping a low profile. But next week, I think Thursday, actually, the track World Championships kick off in Oregon. So that's going to be very interesting to watch over that 10-day period. So in between refreshing Twitter feverishly for updates from Hardrock, you can watch some pretty aggressive, pretty impressive run just events, both on the track and then obviously in the marathon. Big news recently was on the women's marathon side. Molly Seidel pulled out of the race at the end of last week because she's nursing a stress reaction in her hip that she does not want to have turn into a full fracture. That makes a lot of sense because those are not fun. So Kira D'Amato is stepping up and stepping into her place to rep for Team USA, which makes sense because she is now the American record holder and is pretty much always in shape. She's been on a tear on the road circuit, basically everything from like 10K to 25K. So she's got some base fitness. She just did some crazy tempo-based long run last weekend that averaged like under 6-minute pace for 22 miles, which is, if you just got the call that you're running for Team USA in like 2 weeks time and you can just pop off a 22 miler under 6-minute pace, you're probably good to go. So super excited for that. And some other races to watch at World Championships, or at least that I'm super excited for. You got the men's 200. We have 4 men from the U.S. that are going to be competing. But if you saw the video footage of Noah Lyles sort of like winking and pointing at Arian Knighton at the end of the finals at USA's, you know that those dudes are about to go off. Arian actually has the fastest time in the world this year. I think it was like 19:49. So we'll see what the 18-year-old, the dude's still in high school, like he just graduated from high school, what he does on the world championship stage. But yeah, it's going to be nuts in that 200. Women's 800, Keely Hodgkinson is trying to break up the USA trifecta of you have the reigning Olympic champion, you have the reigning indoor 800-meter champion on the team. Like, it's going to be insane over 2 laps there. And then I think I just saw Ethiopia just like completely changed up their Olympic distance profile, like their team. They just like started moving people between events and said these people are now doubling. So that's going to change the landscape of the 5 and 10K. But hey, we got some potential on the American, mostly on the American men's side. But if depending on what type of race it is, the women could also show up as well. And that women's steeple, get excited because we got Emma Coburn and Courtney Frericks are back, but then Courtney Wayment has been on a tear this year. Just recently signed with On Running and turned pro, and she was second at USA's. So this is one of the years where like the steeplechase is always sneaky on the women's side, and like the women just magically show up with medals. Like Emma Coburn won that 2017 World Championship. Just don't be surprised if 1 or 2 women sneak in amongst the sort of the East Africans and pull out a steeplechase medal, if not multiple. So that's what I'm watching for. But again, it's going to be nuts. Who knows what's going to happen in the men's shot, women's disc. There's a whole lot of field events that you can get hyped for. It's going to be insane. And I think it's all covered on like NBC's broadcast platforms. So between the Tour de France and Track World Championships, like NBC is just going to be all endurance and racing related activities all the time. So get excited. That's what's happening in the run flat world, and we'll cover it once we're back in a couple of weeks' time. I'm sure I'll actually get back on Twitter and say some things. So
one of these days. We got a question from Matthew Feldhake here. How about Australia leaving their 1500 meter national champion off the world's team selection?
This is like the epitome of why the U.S. trial system is like hated and loved at the same time. Because if you can win and you have the standard, or you're like ranked highly enough in the world, you go. That's just straight up. That's it. Australia, I don't know what they were thinking here. That men's 1500 is going to be insane. Don't get me wrong. Between Jakob, between Oliver Hoare, between Josh Kurt, like there's so many folks that are like in this mix. And Australia is like sneaky good at the 1500. I think Ollie gets a lot of love, but McSwain is a beast as well. So I don't know what the hell Australia is doing. I wonder how much of it's just like funding. I wonder how much of it's just like internal politics of organizing committees. It's always kind of a mess. Part of it might be travel related too. I'm wondering if, like we saw it in boxing, I think like was it Tyson Fury like couldn't get a visa to come to the U.S. for his like fight against Jake Paul or something. So I wonder if there's like something that might be behind the scenes like that too, which would be like super unfortunate. I don't know all the specifics, but yeah, team selections when it's not very clear, like a trial system like we do in the U.S. is very, very hit or miss. Like every year, Britain or like England, I guess specifically, runs into this same issue where they leave people at home that clearly are top 48 in the world and like could be competitive. There's like, nah, we don't have the funding for it, so we're not gonna send you. It's a shame. You want the best people at a world championship so they can actually vie and make it a true world championship. But alas, here we are. It'll still be entertaining, and we'll see if it benefits America in any useful way, or if we find a way to screw it up again, like we tend to do far too often in the 1500.
We got one more question. We'll close it out here. Mallory Showalter, Skizzle, what are you training for right now, if anything?
Good question. The next thing I actually have on the calendar is a track 5K in 2 weeks. So there's Trials of Miles are like going around the country and hosting these like professional style amateur meets, and basically like setting up a bunch of heats for the community to go out and run based on like certain pace groups. So I'm not really training for that. It's basically a fitness check. And spoiler alert, it's not good. My fitness is not there right now because I'm averaging like 20 miles a week and just trying to keep my body functioning. But we are getting it together because cross country season is the big thing this year. Going to get that speed back. So yeah, come September, it's going to be 3 months of just a bunch of 5Ks and 10Ks over some short distances and just trying to trying to get the legs moving in a way that makes sense. I'm over this injury cycle of like calf slash glute slash back issues. So I'm trying to rectify that and not put too much volume in at the moment. Just try to get the intensity back, get the speed back, and then ultimately try to then stack that forward into your road marathon. See if I get back into a Boston or New York situation, and then back to the 50K, 50 mile question mark distances from there.
Question mark. Awesome. We'll have to check in on that. I think our next check-in will be in about 2 weeks post Hardrock, it sounds like, with everything going on.
That's probably wise. Let's let you focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah. Sounds great.
No, I'm excited about it. Yeah. So, obviously, since we won't talk in this specific type of forum before Hardrock, good luck and don't mess it up.
Yep. I'll try and make you proud.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
Not possible.
It's the coach in me. You can't make me proud. You can just like not make me upset. It's like, good job. You did what you were supposed to do to get better at running type thing.
Dude, so what would I have to do to make you feel that way? What is it a certain time? Is it a certain race strategy? Is it what would be where you would pat me on the back and be like, way to not screw it up?
Nutrition, staying on top of it. Hydration. I won't necessarily drink my bottles until I'm like a mile out from the aid station and realize I haven't consumed anything on the stretch. I just want you to get through in one piece and like not feeling knackered. I think if you get to the finish and you're like obviously like you ran to your potential on the day, but you don't feel like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to run for 2 weeks after this, then I think that's where we want, because this
no cot time.
I don't. I mean,
no
you
sleeping,
can't really have
no laying down.
Do minimize naps,
okay.
Preferably 0 naps.
Okay.
If you sleep less than an hour total, like that's actually probably pretty good for you here. I mean, if we're gonna be closer to the 42 to 44 hour type day,
oh god,
like I can give you an hour nap. But like if it's gonna be under 40, no nap.
My worst performance ever was last year at 39 hours. So my best I think is 29. I would much rather be in the low 30-hour range than the high 30-hour.
No napping. If you're going to be under, okay, let's put it this way. If you're under 35-hour pace, no napping.
Yeah.
If you're between 35 and 40, you can get up to an hour of napping, and we'll call it square. Unless you've like literally lost your stomach and we need to take a longer break, and then you pull like a 2014, 2013, where you had that like crazy rally. Yeah. I'll allow that. But you were trained for that race.
So I was so trained. Yeah. I probably had a similar amount of lay down time this last year, sleeping, but I just wasn't able to run fast. So
yeah. So play it smart, but then just get through it with momentum building. Right. You had a good start to the year, and then things kind of just like disappeared as they tend to do. I want this to be.
It's a kickoff.
I want this to be a launch party.
It's a launch party for next
Barkley
next Barkley next spring
tour / whatever ends up being on the calendar. But you can't wait until registrations go through to start training for these things. Let's actually build some momentum.
Let's do it.
That's like meaningful and useful, because hell, you host so many damn races. It's not like you can't be like, hey, I'm going to race this thing in 6 weeks and like use it as a fitness check and then like have metrics along the way. So Hardrock is your first. It's a weird baseline, but it will be a baseline.
It will. I mean, I have 5 other performances to stack it up against and time, so it'll be telling. My last 100-mile finish was UTMB last year, and then I attempted Mogollon. So it's been a while since I've done 100. We'll see what happens.
Yes, to get better at running, you have to get better at running, and in this instance, hiking. So hold it together, be smart about it, and listen to your coach. All right, he knows what he's doing on this one. So follow his lead, follow the plan, go in with the plan. Don't try to come up with this one on the fly. Preferably, I'm not going to tell you what that plan should be, because this is not my forte. But have some semblance of a plan, please.
Sounds great. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up this week's episode. You're the best at the outro. I'm just going to hand it over to you.
Well, thank you for the folks that are watching live on YouTube. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Mountain Outpost channel. That way you can get that little push notification when we schedule one of these, even if you get it 20 minutes before we actually do it, because we came up with it on the fly because it's the middle of the work. But then, you also get the video feed after the fact, and you get to see me getting progressively darker in this specific video as well. Make sure you hit that bell so you actually get the notifications, and everything is great. If you're listening to this on your podcatcher of choice, thank you as well. Share both of these venues with a friend, whether it's the YouTube or the podcast. Make sure folks are up to speed, because we're shooting the shiz up here, and your questions, your comments, your feedback in the live chat, that's what helps fuel this along. So make sure you're on for the next one, post Hardrock, when I give Jamil a very hard time for probably very good reasons, and we recap all the things that are happening in the run space. But with that, he's been Jam. I've been Skizzle Fresh. This has been a podcast, and we will catch you guys next time. Have a good one.
See ya.